In the world of A Song of Ice and Fire, we get to see different dragons of different shapes and sizes. Some are big and old, while some are young and small, which tells us that these creatures have a life cycle. So here in this video, we are going to dive deep into the different life stages of a Targaryen dragon's lifetime. Well, of course, things may be a bit vague and murky as these creatures gradually grow and pass on from one phase of their life to another, just like any other animal. But it is quite evident when we take in snapshots of them at different and specific points in their lifetime that are more or less equidistant in length of time. So let's get to it. Stage 1. The Egg. Dragon eggs are described as large oval objects, often comparable in size to a human head. They have hard stone-like shells covered in scales, with each egg possessing a unique color and pattern, reflecting the color of the dragon inside of it. These eggs require intense heat to hatch, as well as being nearby to a Targaryen in many cases, whom they are destined to bond with. The exact incubation period is unclear, but it could potentially range from a few months to years or even centuries when Daenerys' eggs are considered. These are highly valued. The dragon eggs are often given as gifts and are considered symbols of power and legitimacy, with a couple of them considered enough to cancel out the debt the entire Seven Kingdoms had to Braavos at one point of time. Stage 2. The Hatchling. Newly hatched dragons are small, often described as the size of a cat or a small dog, with soft pliable scales and wings not yet strong enough for sustained flight. They are curious and relatively fragile. These hatchlings rely on their bonded human, typically a Targaryen or a dragon keeper, for care and protection. Their diet starts with meat, gradually increasing in quantity as they grow. These hatchlings would also begin breathing flames, which begin as sparks and into a fully on sustained breath. The dragons of Daenerys during the first and second seasons are prime examples of baby hatchlings, and as such are still fragile and could easily be killed by larger creatures and humans. Stage 3. The Juvenile. So when they grow bigger, they enter a stage where they are no longer considered hatchlings but as juveniles, and these dragons grow significantly larger and faster than hatchlings, often comparable to a large dog or up to the size of a small horse. Their scales would begin to harden and their wings would start to grow stronger and will allow them to take flight. At this stage, dragons become more independent and aggressive, testing their limits, and they are known to be unpredictable. Their dragon breath would also be considered as a powerful weapon by then. Targaryens often start training their dragons during this period, conditioning them to their human riders and teaching them commands. Vermax, during his first appearance on screen, was in his juvenile form here. Also in this stage of their life, their horns are still underdeveloped, appearing as small spikes, and their snouts are still broad and short. Stage 4. The Flying Age. So after a few years of growing constantly, these dragons would reach an age that is considered more or less as an equivalent of a human young adolescent. They would grow to a size that allows them to sustain flight along with their rider on top of them. With time, they would have developed powerful sprawling wings and a more streamlined body for aerial maneuverability. These dragons would be more adventurous and also grow to become territorial and easy to anger, with their ability to breathe fire becoming more controlled and powerful. Dragons at this stage are often used for reconnaissance and transportation by their riders to and fro from different parts of Westeros. Examples of these are Arax and Moondancer from House of the Dragon, as well as Drogon from Season 5 of Game of Thrones. As you can see with these dragons, their horns have become more prominent, but they are still either short or they are long and slim, as in the case of Moondancer. Stage 5. The Fighting Age. In George R.R. Martin's world of A Song of Ice and Fire, we often hear dragons reaching a time in their life called their fighting age. Here these dragons have grown to be large, formidable creatures with the fully hardened scales over their entire body, which offer great protection from arrows or even larger bolts and from other dragons' fire breath. And yet their flame is near at its peak. At this age they are highly aggressive and territorial. They will also be tightly bonded with their Targaryen riders and be more responsive to their riders' commands, as well as them sensing their human companions' emotions. These dragons can be effectively used in warfare, with their size and dragon breath capable of devastating entire enemy forces with flame and sheer physical power. Sunfire, Sea Smoke from the first season of House of the Dragon, and the second season Vermax are good examples of newly inducted fighting age dragons. These creatures now have prominent horns, and their snouts have grown significantly, and they appear to be longer and narrower. Stage 6. The Fully Grown Dragons. So after a few years or decades, these dragons of fighting age would grow into their prime. These fully grown dragons are immense, often described as rivaling the size of large ships or even castles. They possess massive leathery wings that span wide enough to cast shadows over entire battlefields. Their bodies are covered in tough, near impenetrable scales, and their horns have become more blunt at the tips, which highlights the corrosion that happens over time. The fire breath of a fully grown dragon is at its most potent, most powerful, capable of unleashing torrents of flame that can incinerate an entire army, can even melt steel and reduce stone buildings to rubble. While still aggressive and territorial, fully grown dragons often exhibit a more deliberate and commanding presence compared to their younger counterparts. They are less likely to act recklessly and are more likely to show restraint, especially when bonded with a rider. But beyond their dominating presence in the battlefield, they are more like symbols of ultimate power and authority. So examples of these dragons in their prime is Season 8 Drogon, then from House of the Dragon it'll be Caraxes, Meleys, 2nd Season Seasmoke and Syrax. And their last stage, Old Age. It is said that dragons, which are free and not constrained within the dragon pit, will continue to grow indefinitely until they die. But here comes a time when these beasts are considered as old dragons, and these are seen to be significantly larger in size to the ones in their prime, but may start to decline in physical conditioning, with their scales losing some of their luster and showing signs of wear and tear. They become lazy, requiring running to take off for flights, and they are seen to be a bit more worn and torn, with their horns and spikes becoming blunt or having lost most of them, as in the case of Vhagar. Their skin have become wrinkly and have become loose with flaps all over. They become more sedentary and less aggressive, preferring to rest and conserve energy, and may become reclusive like Vermithor and Silverwing. While still formidable, old dragons are bigger but slower than the others in their mature age. They may be stronger physically, but they are slower. So those are the 7 life stages of a Targaryen dragon from Westeros, starting with the egg, then the hatchling, then the juvenile, then dragons of a flying age, then of a fighting age, in their prime, fully grown, and then old age. Now this isn't official, but it is what we deem to be after being a Game of Thrones fan and a House of the Dragon fan for more than a decade. Well, around 13 to 14 years. So if you like this video, then watch this other one as well. And do check out our channel for other monster and dragon content. We might just have things you haven't seen before. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care, guys.